Lieutenant Olivia Martinez stood at her tactical station on the bridge of the USS Intrepid, her fingers moving quickly over the control panel. At 25, her dark hair pulled back in a regulation bun, she was the youngest tactical officer ever assigned to Earth's most advanced battlecruiser. She felt the weight of that fact every day. "Lieutenant, what do you make of these readings?" Captain William Harris asked, his weathered face illuminated by the blue glow of the main view screen. He was a tall man with gray at his temples who had been in space longer than Olivia had been alive. Olivia studied the data flowing across her screen. The strange energy spikes at the edge of the solar system had been appearing for 3 days now. Nobody else seemed worried, but something about the pattern bothered her. "Sir, these aren't random," she said, keeping her voice steady despite the nervous flutter in her stomach. "There's a sequence here. It repeats every 73 minutes with slight variations." Captain Harris raised an eyebrow. "Natural phenomenon?" Olivia shook her head. "No, sir. Natural events don't have this level of precision. I think someone is testing our sensor range." The bridge fell silent. First Officer Ben Kelly, a broad-shouldered man with a permanent frown, scoffed. "That's quite a leap, Lieutenant. Could be a sensor malfunction." "I've checked the systems twice," Olivia replied. "The pattern is real." Captain Harris studied her face for a long moment. 3 years ago, he had pulled strings to get Olivia assigned to his ship despite her youth. Her test scores at the academy had broken records, especially in tactical simulation and pattern recognition. Some called it a waste of potential. Others called it favoritism. Harris called it good sense. "Plot the variations over time," he ordered. "Let's see what the pattern tells us." Olivia's fingers flew over her console, the main screen filled with a 3-dimensional graph showing dozens of energy spikes plotted across time and space. To most eyes, it looked like random noise. To Olivia, it was as clear as writing. "They're moving closer," she said quietly. "Each sequence originates from a point about 8% nearer to Neptune's orbit than the last." Captain Harris straightened, his uniform jacket. "Lieutenant Martinez thinks we may have first contact on our hands, people. If she's right, I want us ready. If she's wrong, we've done a useful drill. Communications, alert Fleet Command. Tactical, go to yellow alert. Navigation, plot a course to the edge of Neptune's orbit." The bridge crew jumped into action. Only First Officer Kelly lingered near Olivia's station. "You better be right about this," he muttered. "The captain puts a lot of faith in you." Olivia didn't look up from her work. "I know, sir. I hope I'm wrong." The Intrepid reached Neptune's orbit 16 hours later. They weren't alone. 2 other Earth ships had responded to Captain Harris's alert, the USS Valor and the USS Guardian. Together they formed a small but formidable greeting party, or defense line depending on what waited for them. "Anything on sensors, Lieutenant?" Captain Harris asked, standing in the center of the bridge with his hands clasped behind his back. Olivia frowned at her readings. "Nothing yet, sir, but the pattern indicates something should appear right about." The space in front of them rippled. It was subtle at first, like heat waves rising from hot pavement. Then the ripples grew stronger, bending the light of distant stars. "Energy readings off the scale," Olivia called out, her station flashing with warnings. "Something's coming through." The fabric of space split open. There was no other way to describe it. A tear appeared in the blackness, edges glowing with blue-white energy. From within the tear emerged a ship. No, not a ship. Ships. One after another, crystalline vessels poured through the rift in space. They were beautiful in a strange, alien way, faceted like diamonds catching and reflecting the light of Neptune's blue atmosphere. They moved with impossible grace, spinning and sliding into a formation that reminded Olivia of a snowflake. "I count 37 vessels," she reported, fighting to keep her voice professional. "Largest is approximately 3 kilometers in length." "Open hailing frequencies," Captain Harris ordered. "Standard greeting package, all languages." Communications Officer Samuel Parker nodded. "Transmitting now, sir." Minutes passed. The alien ships hung in space, their formation slowly rotating. No response came to the Earthship's greetings. "They're scanning us," Olivia announced. "Our systems can barely detect it, but there's a kind of Wave passing through our ship. It doesn't match any known scanning technology. Captain Harris frowned. Hostile? I don't think so, sir. But I can't be sure. The bridge speakers suddenly came to life with a sound that made everyone wince. A high, musical tone that shifted and changed in ways that hurt the human ear. What the hell is that? First Officer Kelly demanded, hands pressed to his ears. Olivia studied her console, eyes widening. It's them, sir. They're responding. But not with words, with mathematics. These tones correspond to prime number sequences. Before Captain Harris could respond, the alien formation shifted. 5 of the smaller vessels broke away, accelerating toward the Earth ships with frightening speed. Raise shields, Harris ordered. Weapons on standby, but do not fire unless I give the command. The crystalline ships stopped 2 kilometers from the Intrepid. They arranged themselves in a perfect pentagon, points aimed at the Earth vessel. Sir, Olivia said slowly, I think I can respond to them. Captain Harris looked at her in surprise. How? Their communication is mathematical. I can use our sensor array to emit a responding sequence. If I'm right about what they're asking, we might be able to establish basic communication. Harris hesitated only a moment. Do it. Olivia's hands moved across her console, programming a series of energy pulses that would complete the mathematical sequence the aliens had begun. It was a huge gamble. If she was wrong, they might interpret it as aggression. The Intrepid's sensors emitted the signal. Everyone on the bridge held their breath. The alien ship spun in place, their crystalline surfaces catching the light in dazzling patterns. Then as one, they backed away. I think that was a good sign, Olivia whispered. The largest alien vessel moved forward now. A beam of blue-white light shot out, stopping just short of the Intrepid. Within the beam, a shape formed, not solid, but not quite holographic either. It resembled a tall, slender humanoid figure with too many joints in its limbs and a head that seemed to shift and change shape as they watched. They're trying to talk to us, Captain Harris said in awe. Olivia stared at her readings, mind racing. The patterns, the mathematics, the formations. It all fit together like a language. A language she was starting to understand. Sir, she said, looking up at Captain Harris with wide eyes, I think they're asking who speaks for our fleet. The captain straightened his shoulders and stepped forward. Tell them I do. Olivia shook her head. Sir, they're not asking for our leader. They're asking for the one who understood their pattern, the one who answered their mathematical question. She swallowed hard. They're asking for me. The bridge of the USS Intrepid fell silent. All eyes turned to Olivia. She felt her face grow hot under their stares. Me? She said quietly. That can't be right. Captain Harris looked between Olivia and the shimmering alien figure in the beam of light. Are you certain, Lieutenant? Olivia nodded. Her hands trembled slightly as she reviewed the data on her screen. The pattern is clear, sir. They recognize that I completed their mathematical sequence. They think I'm significant. First Officer Kelly stepped forward. This is absurd. We can't let our youngest officer become our spokesperson with an unknown alien species. With respect, sir, Olivia replied, finding her courage. I don't think we have a choice. They've selected me based on my response. If someone else steps forward, they might see it as deception. Captain Harris rubbed his chin thoughtfully. The alien projection pulsed with changing colors, waiting. What do you suggest we do, Lieutenant? Harris asked. Olivia took a deep breath. Let me try to communicate with them using mathematical sequences. I think I can establish basic concepts, peaceful intentions, identity, purpose, enough to build upon. After a long moment, Harris nodded. Do it, but stay on the ship. We'll use the communication array to project your responses. For the next 6 hours, Olivia worked tirelessly at her station. She programmed sequences of energy pulses that corresponded to mathematical concepts, the value of pi, the Fibonacci sequence, prime numbers. The aliens responded with their own sequences, each more complex than the last. Communications Officer Parker watched in amazement. It's like they're teaching you their language. Not teaching, Olivia corrected, her eyes never leaving her screen. Testing. They want to see how much I understand. By the 12th hour, Olivia had established a rudimentary form of communication. The alien vessel projected a series of three-dimensional geometric shapes that rotated and transformed. Olivia recognized them as a form of spatial mathematics. They call themselves the Vraks, she announced to the bridge crew. At least that's the closest I can translate it. Their concepts don't always map to our words. What do they want? Captain, Harris asked, his voice tense. He hadn't left the bridge since first contact began. Olivia frowned. That's harder to determine. They keep sending a sequence I can't fully decode. It seems to reference some kind of harmony or balance. The translation isn't clear. Before she could continue, her console flashed with warning signals. The tactical display showed 20 more rifts opening throughout the solar system. Hundreds of Vrak's ships poured through. They're surrounding Earth's defense stations, Olivia reported, her stomach dropping. This wasn't first contact. It was the advance team. Captain Harris's face hardened. It was a trap. They used you to keep us talking while they positioned their fleet. He turned to the weapons officer. Arm all systems. Prepare to— Wait, Olivia shouted, standing up from her station. The sequence they sent, I think I understand it now. They're not attacking, they're afraid. Afraid? Of what? First Officer Kelly scoffed. We have 3 ships. They have hundreds. Olivia pointed to her display. Look at their formation. It's defensive, not offensive. They're creating a barrier around our solar system, facing outward. As if to confirm her words, long-range sensors detected new signals from beyond Pluto's orbit. Massive energy readings, different from the Vrak signatures. Something else is coming, Olivia said quietly. Something the Vraks are running from. The main view screen flickered. The alien projection changed, forming what looked like a star map. Red pulses moved across it, consuming everything in their path. They're trying to warn us, Captain Harris realized. But why choose us? Why Earth? The answer came in another, mathematical sequence, one that made Olivia's eyes widen. Because I answered them, she whispered. In all their travels, across thousands of star systems, no one has ever understood their mathematical communication so quickly. They think we're like them. They think we can help. A new message appeared on Olivia's console. Text, not mathematics. Fleet Admiral George Edwards, the highest-ranking officer in Earth's Navy. Lieutenant Martinez, Captain Harris. Our sensors show over 500 alien vessels have entered the solar system. Should we consider this an invasion? Captain Harris looked to Olivia. What do you think, Lieutenant? Are we under attack? Olivia studied the patterns of the Vrak ships once more. Their formation was complex but clear to her now. No, sir. They're asking for our help. And judging by these energy readings from beyond our system, we may need theirs. Harris nodded and opened the channel to Fleet Command. Admiral, this is Captain Harris. Lieutenant Martinez has established communication with the aliens. They call themselves the Vraks. They are not hostile. Repeat, not hostile. They appear to be seeking refuge or alliance against another force. There was a long pause before Admiral Edwards responded. Can you verify this assessment, Lieutenant Martinez? Olivia took the communication link. Her voice was steady now, her initial fear replaced by determination. Yes, Admiral. The Vraks are arranging themselves in a defensive formation around our solar system. Their mathematical communications indicate they're fleeing from something they fear greatly. And you can understand these mathematics? Yes, sir. Their language is based on spatial relationships and numeric sequences. It's complex but logical. Another pause. Captain Harris, Lieutenant Martinez, I'm ordering all Earth vessels to maintain defensive positions but hold fire. Martinez, you will continue communications with these Vraks. Find out exactly what they're running from and what they want from us. Yes, sir, Olivia replied. As the communication ended, the ship shuddered. The largest Vraks vessel had moved alongside the Intrepid, dwarfing the Earthship. A new beam of light appeared on the bridge, wider than before. The alien figure that formed was clearer now, its features more defined. It had a tall, slender body with 4 jointed arms and a head that seemed to consist of shifting crystalline plates. It pointed directly at Olivia with one long finger. "They want me to go over there," she said, reading the mathematical symbols that appeared around the figure. "To their ship." Captain Harris shook his head. "Absolutely not. It's too dangerous." "Sir," Olivia said firmly, "they're offering to show me what's coming, information we need, and they specifically want the person who understands their mathematics." She straightened her uniform. "That's me." First Officer Kelly stepped forward. "I'll go with her, armed escort." The alien figure made a gesture, and new symbols appeared. "They agree to an escort," Olivia translated. "But they say we must hurry. The hunters? Predators?" The translation isn't perfect. Whatever they're running from, it's getting closer. Captain Harris studied her face for a long moment. "You understand what you're doing, Lieutenant? This goes beyond any first contact protocol, beyond anything we've trained for." Olivia nodded. "I understand, sir, but someone needs to bridge this gap, and right now I'm the only one who can do it." Harris finally nodded. "Go. Learn what you can. But at the first sign of danger, you get out of there. That's an order." "Yes, sir," Olivia replied. As she and Kelly prepared to enter the transport beam, Communications Officer Parker called out, "The rest of the fleet is arriving, sir. 30 Earth ships approaching." Outside the viewports, Olivia could see Earth vessels taking position near the much larger Vrax ships. Two alien fleets facing an unknown threat together. All because she had recognized a pattern and answered it. "Ready, Lieutenant?" Kelly asked, checking his weapon. Olivia took a deep breath and stepped into the light. "Ready." The light enveloped them, and the bridge of the Intrepid disappeared. Their journey into the heart of the Vrax fleet had begun. The light faded, and Olivia blinked as her eyes adjusted. She and First Officer Kelly stood in a vast chamber unlike anything she had ever seen. The walls, floor, and ceiling appeared to be made of the same crystalline material as the Vrax ships, but they glowed with soft blue light that shifted and pulsed like a heartbeat. "Stay close," Kelly whispered, his hand hovering near his weapon. Olivia nodded, though her attention was already focused on the patterns in the light. The pulses weren't random. They were another form of the mathematical language she had begun to understand. "They're welcoming us," she said quietly. "At least I think that's what this means." 3 Vrax appeared before them. Up close, the aliens were both beautiful and strange. Their bodies seemed partly solid and partly formed of light, with crystalline plates shifting and rearranging as they moved. They stood nearly 7 feet tall, with 4 jointed arms and elongated, heads that contained no visible eyes, yet Olivia felt certain they could see. The central Vrax stepped forward and moved its upper arms in a flowing pattern. Mathematical symbols appeared in the air between them. "Can you understand what they're saying?" Kelly asked, looking nervously at the symbols. Olivia studied the patterns. "Not everything, but the basic meaning is clear. They're thanking us for coming. They didn't expect to find anyone who could understand their language in this part of space." The Vrax made another gesture, and the room around them transformed. The walls became transparent, revealing the vastness of space outside. Earth's solar system was visible, a tiny cluster of planets around a yellow star. Beyond it, at the edge of what their sensors could detect, a darkness was spreading. "What is that?" Kelly asked, pointing to the darkness. The Vrax produced new symbols, more complex than before. Olivia frowned as she tried to understand them. "They call them the Void," she translated slowly. "They're not really a species, more like a force, an anti-pattern that consumes all structured information." "That doesn't make any sense," Kelly said. The Vrax seemed to understand his confusion. One of them placed a crystalline hand on a panel, and a 3-dimensional image appeared in the center of the room. It showed a star system much like Earth's, but as they watched, the planets began to change. Their surfaces became smooth, featureless. Eventually, they crumbled into dust. "The void breaks down complexity," Olivia explained as she interpreted the new symbols. "The Vrax exist as patterns of light and mathematics. The void is their opposite, It reduces everything to its simplest form. No life, no technology, nothing complex can survive its touch. Kelly's face paled. And it's coming here? To our solar system? The lead Vrax nodded, a gesture they must have learned from observing humans. New symbols flowed from its hands. They've been running for... The translation isn't exact, but something like 1,000 years, Olivia said. The void has consumed hundreds of star systems. The Vrax are the last of their kind. Why come to us? Kelly asked. What can we do against something like that? The Vrax turned to Olivia and produced a new set of symbols, directed specifically at her. These were different, more complex, almost reverent, they say. Olivia paused, making sure she understood correctly. They say that in all their travels they've never encountered a species that could understand their mathematical language so intuitively, not until me. The lead Vrax gestured again, and the room filled with new images, complex battle formations, energy patterns, and defensive arrays. They want us to fight with them, Kelly realized. A last stand. Olivia shook her head as she read the new symbols. Not just fight. They want us to help them find a new way to combat the void. They've been running so long they've exhausted all their strategies. They need fresh perspectives. The lead Vrax approached Olivia. It extended all 4 of its arms, palms up, displaying complex symbols that swirled and changed. What does that mean? Kelly asked. Olivia stared at the symbols, her heart pounding. They want me to coordinate, to help develop new strategies. They're offering me command of their defensive fleet. Kelly's eyes widened. That's ridiculous. You're a lieutenant, not an admiral. You can't command an alien armada. I don't think rank matters to them, Olivia said quietly. They recognize pattern thinking. They value it above all else. And somehow my brain works like theirs. Before Kelly could respond, alarms sounded throughout the chamber. The wall displays showed a new rift opening at the edge of the solar system. The darkness they had seen was beginning to pour through. The void is here, Olivia said, reading the urgent symbols the Vrax were producing. Sooner than they expected. The lead Vrax placed a crystalline device on the floor between them. It projected a holographic display of the entire solar system, with all the Earth and Vrax ships highlighted. They want an answer now, Olivia told Kelly. Do we stand with them, or do they continue running? Kelly looked at the display, then at Olivia. This isn't our decision to make. We need to report back to Captain Harris to Fleet Command. The Vrax produced urgent symbols. Olivia's expression grew serious as she read them. There's no time, she translated. The void moves faster than their ships. If they try to run now, they'll be caught. And so will Earth. Kelly stared at her. You're not actually considering this, are you? Taking command of an alien fleet? Olivia looked at the tactical display. Her mind was already racing, seeing patterns in the ship formations, calculating trajectories, identifying weaknesses in the void's approach. Not their whole fleet, she said quietly. Just a defensive strategy. A new approach they haven't tried. Lead Vrax stepped forward again, its crystalline body glowing brighter. It extended a single arm toward Olivia, offering what looked like a small shard of crystal. What is that? Kelly asked. A neural interface, Olivia explained, reading the symbols. It will let me communicate directly with their fleet without the translation delay. It's temporary, they say. Kelly shook his head. This is insane. You can't do this without authorization. Olivia looked at the display again. The darkness was spreading, only hours away from reaching Neptune's orbit. Earth's fleet was moving into defensive positions, but they had no idea what they were facing. If I don't, there might not be anyone left to court-martial me, she said, looking Kelly in the eye. You can report my actions to Captain Harris, but right now, we need to buy time for Earth to prepare. Before Kelly could stop her, Olivia reached out and took the crystal shard from the Vrax. The moment her fingers touched it, her mind expanded. Suddenly, she could see the entire tactical situation with perfect clarity. The movements of every ship, the patterns of the Void's approach, the mathematical structures underlying the Vrak's defense systems, all of it made sense to her now. "Lieutenant!" Kelly shouted, but his voice seemed distant. Olivia turned to the lead Vraks and, using her newly enhanced understanding, produced a complex series of mathematical symbols in the air between them. The Vrax's body glowed brighter, with what could only be described as surprise. Then, as one, all three aliens bowed their heads to her. "Tell Captain Harris I'm sorry," Olivia said to Kelly, her voice steady and certain. "But right now, Earth needs me here." The display showed the Vrak's fleet beginning to move, reshaping its formation based on the commands Olivia was now sending through the neural link. A new pattern was forming, one the Void had never encountered before. The youngest officer in Earth's fleet had just become a commander of stars. First Officer Kelly returned to the USS Intrepid alone. The moment he stepped back onto the bridge, Captain Harris approached him with concern in his eyes. "Where is Lieutenant Martinez?" Harris demanded. Kelly took a deep breath. "Sir, she's staying with the Vraks. They've given her some kind of neural interface. She's coordinating their fleet against this thing they call the Void." Captain Harris stared at him in disbelief. "She's what?" "I tried to stop her, sir," Kelly said, "but she made a decision. She said Earth needs her there." The main view screen showed the Vrak's fleet changing formation. Instead of their previous defensive line, the ships were now moving into a complex spiral pattern, with smaller vessels weaving between the larger ones. "That's her doing," Communications Officer Parker said in awe. "Look at the precision of their movements." Captain Harris frowned. "Open a channel to the Vrak's command ship. I want to speak with Lieutenant Martinez immediately." "Channel open, sir," Parker replied after a moment. Olivia's face appeared on the screen. She looked the same except for a small crystalline device attached to her temple. Her eyes moved rapidly as if seeing things no one else could. "Lieutenant," Harris said sternly, "you left your post without authorization. I'm ordering you to return to the Intrepid at once." "I'm sorry, Captain," Olivia replied, her voice calm but distant. "That's not possible right now. The Void has entered our solar system. We have less than 6 hours before it reaches Neptune." "What exactly is this Void?" Harris asked. "It's not alive in the way we understand life," Olivia explained. "It's an anti-pattern, a force that breaks down complexity into simplicity. It consumes information, structure, pattern, everything that makes up life and civilization. And you believe you can stop it?" Olivia's eyes refocused on him. "Not stop it. Not yet. But I can slow it down. Buy us time to find a permanent solution." The tactical display showed more Earth ships arriving, forming up alongside the Vrak's vessels. Admiral Edwards appeared on a secondary screen. "Captain Harris, what's the situation?" "Our sensors show Lieutenant Martinez aboard the alien command vessel." Before Harris could answer, Olivia spoke. "Admiral Edwards, I've assumed tactical coordination of the Vrak's fleet with their consent. We're facing an entity they call the Void, which has destroyed hundreds of star systems. I request permission to coordinate Earth's fleet as well." Edwards looked stunned. "Lieutenant, that's completely outside protocol. You're asking to command our entire fleet?" "Not command, sir," Olivia corrected. "Coordinate. The Vrak's neural link allows me to process tactical information faster than any computer. I can see patterns the Void creates and counter them in real time." "This is unprecedented," Edwards said, looking to Harris. "Captain, your assessment?" Harris studied the tactical display showing the new formation. Despite his anger at Olivia's actions, he had to admit the pattern was elegant, efficient, and unlike anything in Earth's tactical manuals. "Lieutenant Martinez has a unique ability to understand the Vraks and their mathematical communication," he said finally. "If what they're telling us is true, we may need that ability right now." Edwards was silent for a long moment. "Very well. Lieutenant Martinez, you have temporary tactical coordination of Earth's defensive fleet. Captain Harris will remain in operational command of all Earth vessels. Is that clear?" "Yes, sir," Olivia replied. "Thank you, sir." The screen split to show both Olivia and the approaching darkness at the edge of the solar system. It moved like a black cloud, but sensors showed it was more like a hole, an absence rather than a presence. All Earth vessels move to grid coordinates I'm sending now, Olivia directed. We need to create a resonance barrier using both our fleets. The VRACs, ships will provide the mathematical framework. Earth ships need to amplify it. For the next 3 hours, Olivia coordinated the combined fleet into positions that made little sense when viewed individually, but created a complex pattern when seen as a whole. Some ships seemed needlessly exposed, while others were grouped in tight formations. Lieutenant, the Void has reached Neptune's orbit, Kelly reported. Our forward scouts are losing contact. Olivia nodded, her eyes distant as she processed information through the neural link. All ships, power up your shields and weapons but do not fire. Route all energy through your main deflectors on my mark. The darkness approached the combined fleet. Up close, it was more terrifying than any weapon they had ever faced. It didn't fire or attack. It simply passed through matter, leaving nothing but dust in its wake. Now, Olivia commanded. Every ship in both fleets activated their systems simultaneously. Energy beams connected the vessels in a complex web, creating a shimmering barrier between them and the Void. The darkness hit the barrier and slowed. It didn't stop completely, but its advance reduced to a crawl. The barrier held, though sensors showed it was being consumed bit by bit. It's working, Parker said excitedly. For now, Olivia replied, her voice tense with concentration. But the barrier won't hold forever. The Void adapts, it's already learning our pattern. Captain Harris watched as Olivia adjusted the fleet's formation in real time, shifting ships to strengthen weak points in the barrier. Her mind was working faster than should be possible, directing hundreds of vessels with perfect precision. How are you doing this? He asked quietly. Olivia's eyes briefly focused on him. The neural link helps, but it's more than that. The VRACs think in patterns. So do I. It's why they chose me. I can see what others can't. The barrier flickered as the Void pressed against it. Several smaller VRACs vessels were caught in the darkness and disappeared. We're losing the western quadrant, Kelly reported. All ships in Sector 7 through 12 adjust position by 3 degrees, Olivia commanded. Earth vessels increase power to your deflectors by 20%. The barrier stabilized, but Olivia's face showed the strain. Blood trickled from her nose as the neural link pushed her brain to its limits. You can't keep this up, Harris said with concern. It's killing you. I can hold it long enough, Olivia replied. The scientists on Earth need time to study the VRAC's data, to find a permanent solution. On another screen, Admiral Edwards appeared again. Lieutenant, our science teams have received the VRAC's information. They're working on it now, but they need more time. How much? Olivia asked, wincing as the neural link pulsed with energy. At least 12 hours. Olivia shook her head. The barrier won't last that long, maybe 4 more hours at most. The lead VRAX appeared beside her, its crystalline body dimmer than before. It produced a complex series of symbols that only Olivia could understand. What are they saying? Harris asked. Olivia's face paled. They're suggesting a last resort, a concentrated burst of energy from their drive cores. It would push the Void back temporarily, maybe buy the extra time we need. So do it, Kelly said. The burst would destroy the ships generating it, Olivia explained. They're offering to sacrifice a third of their fleet, the last third of their entire species. The bridge fell silent. No one knew what to say. Olivia looked at the tactical display, her mind racing through calculations and possibilities. Then her eyes widened. There's another way, she said suddenly. Captain, I need to speak with all ship commanders immediately. The faces of Earth and VRAC's leaders appeared on screens around her. Olivia Martinez, the youngest tactical officer in the fleet, now commanding forces from 2 civilizations, prepared to explain her most daring strategy yet. One that might save them all if they could trust her enough to try it. The faces of ship commanders from both fleets looked at Olivia with a mixture of doubt and hope. She stood straight despite the pain from the neural link, blood still trickling from her nose. The Void attacks complexity by breaking down patterns, she explained. Until now, the Vraks have tried to fight it with even more complex patterns, but that's exactly what the void consumes. The lead Vraks beside her made a motion of agreement. It had learned to trust this human who thought in patterns, like they did. "So what do you suggest, Lieutenant?" Admiral Edwards asked. "Simplicity," Olivia replied. "The most basic pattern of all, a single point of perfect order surrounded by controlled chaos." She used the neural link to project her plan into the tactical display. The combined fleet would split into two forces. The outer ships would move in seemingly random patterns, creating a distraction of disorder. Meanwhile, the inner ships would form a perfect sphere, the simplest three-dimensional shape. "The void seeks to break down complexity," Olivia continued. "But how does it handle something already reduced to perfect simplicity? The Vraks have never tried this because their entire existence is based on complex patterns." Captain Harris studied the display. "You think the void will be drawn to the outer ships while the inner formation does what exactly?" "The inner ships will generate a resonance wave of perfectly ordered energy," Olivia explained. "Not to fight the void, but to communicate with it." First Officer Kelly frowned. "Communicate? With something that destroys everything it touches?" "The void isn't evil," Olivia said, understanding flowing through the neural link. "It's a force of nature that reduces complexity. What if we could show it that we understand its nature, that we can exist in harmony with it?" The Vraks leader made a gesture of surprise. In all their centuries of fleeing, they had never considered trying to communicate with the force that hunted them. Admiral Edwards looked skeptical. "And if this communication fails?" "Then we're no worse off than we are now," Olivia replied. "The barrier is failing regardless. This gives us a chance." After a tense silence, Edwards nodded. "Proceed, Lieutenant." For the next hour, Olivia directed the fleets into their new positions. The outer ships began their seemingly chaotic movements, while the inner vessels, 50 Earth ships and 50 Vrak ships, formed a perfect sphere. "The void has broken through the northwestern quadrant," Parker reported. "It's accelerating." Olivia took a deep breath. "All inner ships power up your communication arrays. Van Jing to maximum. Earth vessels, route all power to your main deflectors." The sphere of ships began to glow as energy built up between them. On the tactical display, the void seemed to hesitate. The darkness swirled around the chaotic outer ships but didn't immediately consume them. "It's working," Kelly said. "The void is confused by the random patterns." "Not for long," Olivia replied. "Inner sphere, prepare to release resonance wave on my mark." The darkness suddenly shifted. It flowed past the outer ships and moved directly toward the perfect sphere at the center. "It's targeting the inner formation," Harris shouted. "As I expected," Olivia said calmly. "All ships hold position, trust me." The void reached the edge of the sphere. The ships trembled as the darkness touched their shields. "Now!" Olivia commanded. All 100 ships released their energy simultaneously. A perfect wave of resonance expanded outward, meeting the darkness. Where they touched, something strange happened. The darkness didn't consume the wave, they merged. Through the neural link, Olivia felt something she hadn't expected. The void wasn't mindless. It was aware, in its own alien way. The resonance wave was speaking to it in a language more basic than even the Vrak's mathematics, the language of pattern itself. "It's responding," she whispered. The darkness around the sphere began to change. Instead of consuming, it was listening. The Vrak ships registered readings they had never seen before. "What's happening?" Edwards demanded. Olivia's eyes were unfocused as she processed the information through the link. "It's showing us its true nature. The void doesn't destroy complexity because it hates it. It does so because that's its function in the universe, to balance order with entropy." The lead Vraks suddenly understood. Its people had been running, for centuries, never realizing they could have reached an understanding. The complex mathematics that made up their existence could coexist with the void if properly balanced. The darkness pulled back slightly from the sphere of ships. It still surrounded them, but it no longer sought to consume them. I think, Olivia said carefully, it's offering us a choice, coexistence instead of destruction. Through the neural link, she sent a response, a simple mathematical principle that acknowledged the void's nature while asserting their right to exist. A balance. For several tense minutes, nothing happened. Then the darkness began to withdraw. Not fleeing, but giving space. It remained at the edge of Neptune's orbit, a boundary rather than a pursuing force. It's establishing a border, Olivia explained. It will maintain the balance of the universe by consuming excess complexity, but it will not destroy civilizations that understand and respect this balance. Admiral Edwards looked stunned. You negotiated with a cosmic force? That's impossible? Hera suggested. Revolutionary, Edwards corrected. Olivia smiled tiredly. Not me alone. It took both our species working together to create the right pattern. The lead Vrax approached Olivia. It made a series of gestures, and for the first time, text appeared. Instead of mathematical symbols, you have saved what remains of our people. We offer permanent alliance with Earth. Admiral Edwards nodded solemnly. On behalf of Earth, we accept. The crisis had passed, but questions remained. The void still existed at the edge of their solar system, a reminder of the universe's drive toward entropy. The Vrax needed a new home after centuries of running, and Olivia had the neural link connecting her to an alien thought process. What happens now? Kelly asked. Olivia looked at the Vrax ships integrated perfectly with Earth's fleet. Now we learn from each other. The Vrax understand mathematical patterns better than we ever could. We understand adaptability and thinking beyond established patterns. And you, Lieutenant? Captain Harris asked. Will you remove that neural link and return to your post? Olivia touched the crystalline device at her temple. It had changed her, shown her possibilities she never imagined. Not yet, sir. The link helps me translate between our species, and I think we still have much to learn from each other. Admiral Edwards approached the view screen. Lieutenant Martinez, in recognition of your actions today, I'm recommending your immediate promotion to commander. Furthermore, you will serve as official liaison to the Vrax fleet. The lead Vrax made a gesture of agreement. Text appeared again. Among our people, she already has a title, the one who bridges patterns. In your language, Commander. Olivia stood a little straighter. 6 months ago, she had been the youngest tactical officer in the fleet, fighting to prove herself among doubters. Now she stood between two civilizations, respected by both, with a universe of possibilities before her. I accept both honors, she said simply, and I'll do my best to deserve them. As the Earth and Vrax ships adjusted to their new reality, Commander Olivia Martinez began making plans. The void had taught them that the universe held forces beyond their understanding, but it had also shown that with the right combination of human intuition and alien mathematics, even the most fundamental forces of cosmos could be understood. What other wonders and challenges waited among the stars? With 2 fleets now under her guidance, she intended to find out.